Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stillwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. I grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This midweek episode, we'll be going over the forums once again, and we're going to be looking at some that I've picked out. One of them might be enough, depending on the length, but we'll see. So this one I wanted to talk about because it is quite relevant in most games, I want to say. We've all experienced it in our gaming careers, our gaming history, and that is toxicity. So, how to combat toxicity and welcome new players. I think this is a great title. I would love to see newer players getting not just into World of Warcraft, but into the PvP scene, into the PvE scene. You know, many things do encourage people to get into these, such as AWC, such as Race to World First, Mythic Plus dungeons, where they have their sort of, it's not AWC it's called, it's, I forget what the Mythic Plus like scene is, the equivalent to AWC. I've completely forgotten, it's completely gone out of my mind, but they have their own. So these sort of things do help with getting people into the game, but there are a lot of barriers that help you actually stay in PvP, PvE, and you got to push through them. And a lot of it is to do with, obviously, this being pro play, the AWC and stuff like that. They're all a team. They all know how each other like play the game. They've played the game with each other for years and years. So it's a very friendly environment, and many team aspects of the game in World of Warcraft at the high end are very fun and team orientated. And the teams that do play are very friendly and they all get along very nicely. You have to, because you're in a team. This isn't the experience for a new or average player, I'm afraid. So, the forum states, the WoW PvP community is toxic. I do have to agree somewhat with that. There are people in that community who can ruin it for others. Not everyone is, but there are a decent amount of people that are. We've all been exposed to toxicity, harassment, and the like while doing arenas or battlegrounds. We may have given it, taken it, or seen it. It isn't welcoming for new players, and it ruins the experience for everyone. So how can we help reduce toxicity among players while consequently increasing participation in PvP to expand the player base? Incentivizing losing. I don't think this is good. I'll get into why. So I think the idea is there to get new people into PvP and to make it a more enjoyable experience. I think the best thing that you can do is, if you kind of like how Overwatch does it, you can just report them, they can monitor the text chats and stuff, and they can essentially make a decision whether or not to chat ban the person or just ban them from doing this content, like for a week, 2, 3, etc. But I think a simple chat ban for those who are verbally abusive or just dicks in general would be the way to go. But he puts incentivize losing. Let's see what he suggests. People will be much less likely to get frustrated/angry at their fellow players if losing doesn't feel like a complete waste of time. You sit in a 10, 15, 30 plus minute queue just to lose. Okay, firstly, I would like to say there is no 30 plus minute queues unless you are at the very top end of the game. My boomkin is kind of there at this point of the early season. It's playing around 2.2 MMR in Shuffle at the very start of the season, which is, I think, on the higher end, and that is about a 25 to 30 minute queue. If you are the average sort of player, you do have about a 15 minute queue on average. Sometimes less, sometimes more, but it's around that. They have done well with bringing the queue times down, and they have done well with actually bringing the healer MMR up a bit, which is really nice to see for Season 3. I think that's very good. A small participation award sounds like the obvious go-to, and a small amount of conquest/MMR, etc. might be cool if they figure out how to balance it. But aside from that, I was getting you back into the game is crucial. If losing gave you a stacking buff that increased your queue time, that would be awesome. I'd care a lot less for losing if I got a small boon to my conquest and a quicker next queue pop. For those who know how great the nuanced the PvP is in this game, I'd love more people to get into it. What do you think would help foster a more welcoming and less hostile PvP community? Okay, firstly, I do have to say this, the idea isn't great. I love the fact that they are wanting more people to be brought into the PvP scene. I love the fact that they're trying out ideas, but the problem that is with this idea is that it is incentivizing losing. The point of winning means that you get longer queue times, less conquest/honor, and you get some MMR, great, but they get a quicker queue time. So what happens if you go 2 and 4 in a lobby, but you get a quicker queue time? You can easily 6-0 that lobby and get in 2 lobbies before someone else gets into like their second. You know how it is. So it'll make winning feel shit. I'm not going to lie, because it's like, oh god, I've got a longer queue time now because all of these people are put to the front of the queue before me. Even if they start queuing 10 minutes after me, they're probably going to get a queue pop before me, which isn't great. And that incentivizes losing, like he's put. I think that it's a decent idea, but it's not great, to be honest, because you're punishing one person for winning and rewarding the other for losing, whereas it should be a competitive game, and the PvP side should be a competitive game, and you should be rewarded for winning. It would incentivize everyone to win. Now, if you queue, you technically are going to have a shorter queue time. This is purely because of the rating. So if you are both playing at 1800 at the very start of this season, one of you wins 6-0, the other goes 0-6. The person who gets 6-0 goes to 2.1 rating. We'll just say this as a hypothetical. And the person who 0-6 goes to 1500. There is 5% of the player base at 2.1. These numbers I'm just pulling out of thin air, by the way. I'm not done the actual research on this, but this is kind of just like an example. You have 5% of the player base that's at 2100, and you have 50% of the player base that's at 1500. Who's more likely to get into a queue pop at their rating? The 1500. So you're already incentivized, or you're already more likely to get into another queue quicker compared to that who won the 6-0. So you technically already have this in the game. It's just hidden. You don't need a buff for it. And the person who wins that does understand, and the person who loses, again, rightfully has they have the right to be angry, but at the same time, not angry at others. My personal opinion, or what I do, is if I lose 0-6 or something, 1-5, 2-4, if I go negative in a solo shuffle, I get annoyed, yes. I don't start yelling at people. I get annoyed at myself because of my competitiveness in the game. And that's what it should be. If people start to spout like a load of waffle at someone else and just like go into town on them, essentially, they should be chat banned. They shouldn't be allowed to message in the chat, essentially. They should be able to say a few choice words such as the class. That's it. So what I mean by this is they can say shaman, priest, hunter, all the classes in WoW, because if they are to play solo shuffle, they can call out what target to kill. That's very simple. As for new players getting into WoW, my honest recommendation, if you have friends, play with them in PvP. It's a lot more enjoyable. If you can't, the best idea is to keep an eye on your chat settings. If someone starts to get a bit dickish, then you just simply leave chat, turn it off. That is the best way to deal with this. You just ignore everyone, turn it off, or just say something in a foreign language, use Google Translate, and basically just, say anything in Google Translate, and they'll be like, oh, okay, this person doesn't speak English or French or wherever you're playing, essentially. That's my call for it. But no, it is a big problem, the toxicity. The best way that you can handle it is to ignore it, but I know that can be tough at points for some people. So I'm the type of person to, if someone's toxic to me, give it back, because why wouldn't I? If someone treats me like shit, I'm going to treat them like shit. Fuck off, like all that shit. But it isn't the way to go. It should just be an ignore thing. But I think it definitely helps to report them, because when you report them, you also block them. You can't see their messages anymore, which is really good. So I think that's the best way to go about it, if anything. I do love the idea that they want to welcome new players, and there should be an incentive to welcome more and more new players into PvP, because it is very tough to get into right now. Well, I say right now, it's only themselves and the other player base holding them back, because gearing's a lot easier. Figuring out everything is a lot tougher still. You have add-ons, you have cooldowns, you have diminishing returns, you have trinkets. You have a lot to deal with. So on top of that, someone being a dick to you isn't the greatest thing. But that is it for this episode. Thank you all very much for listening. Do check out all of the socials down below. We're going live later tonight with a little Wrath raid, so you're more than welcome to hop on over. It'll be going live in about 2 hours' time, since when this podcast episode goes live. It's 8 CET. But thank you all very much once again, and go with Valor Flame.